Ladies and gentlemen, it is showtime here with the Fantasy Football Buzz podcast, Sunday morning, game day edition. Let me tell you something, guys. There's a lot of people out, a lot of people inactive, a lot of people doubtful, a lot of people game day decisions.
Can we just
are here at the Buzz to sort it all out. Above me is 2020 over here, Cyclops. Guys, how you doing this beautiful Sunday morning?
Good. I think you're going to say what I was about to say, Cyclops. It might be easier to read who's active versus inactive. Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah.
Might be easier. I read your mind after 35 years of friendship. I knew right where you were going. Kind of crazy. But listen, if you're listening to the show today, it's because you've made your playoffs. Because let's be honest, if you're not in the playoffs, you are so heartbroken and depressed. Or maybe I'm just speaking of me when I don't make the playoffs. You're done with fantasy football. You're not exactly. So you're not listening. So A, props to you if you're listening because you've made it thus far to round 2 or you've had your bye. So good luck to you this week, and we hope we can certainly add some value. It's an exciting week of football ahead. Day of football ahead.
Yeah, no, agreed. And like I said, there is just an insane amount of players out today, and all week. Like all I've been doing is picking up players and dropping players. It's like been a full-time job. Luckily, I've been off of work this week, because it's the holiday season.
Yeah.
If Roto World got paid by the refresh button, I would owe them millions. I mean, literally every 75 seconds, I must be pressing refresh to see what's going on with Hill and Kelsey and Gibson and Huntley and all these guys. Just to know what's happening. So it is incredible. But you got your friends here at the Buzz to help you with some tough calls today and some up to the
this is also cry-free Sunday, right? I don't want to hear the excuses. We are all going through it. I don't think there's a single team, except for Brad's team who I play against today, that doesn't have a COVID problem or an injury problem. So yes, we are all going through it, and it's how you deal with it. How do you go about? Who are you picking up? Who is available? Look, I'm an idiot. I have to start Ben Roethlisberger today because I'm down to my third quarterback. So it is something that happens, but we all have to deal with it, and we're not going to make excuses. We go in with our best team, and we see what we can do. And I want to hear from you guys. Obviously, like 2020 said, if you've made it this far, if you're watching right now, congratulations, guys. I want to hear who's on your lineup today. I want to know what questions you have. Who are you starting? Who are you benching? Who do you have that has COVID, and what did you do about it? Instead of complaining, I want to know what you did to get to that point.
And call us with there's a lot of tough decisions to make. Some good players with backup quarterbacks. Do you start them? Fill in running backs going against tough Ds. A lot of decisions to make, and we're gonna give you a good show today. But we love getting your questions and taking your calls. So light up the phone.
This is what we're gonna do, guys. First, we're gonna go through some of the. We already have some questions this morning before we get started. We'll then go through our inactive list to let you know, and of course, at 11:30, for the most part, around 11:30, the teams start actually sending their official inactive lists for the 1:00 games, and we will go through that with you guys. But first, let's say good morning to Javi, one of our listeners, been listening all year long. He said he's in a 12-team PPR. He's got Mixon, Jackson, Diggs, and Edwards-Helaire. He needs 2. Brad, I know you got Mixon. What are you thinking here?
Well, I mean, out of these 4, Mixon is a definite at that point, right?
I agree.
No question. I mean, this is a good. It's like I don't know how you don't start off 4 of these. Right. You need 2 of these. That's amazing. Justin Jackson.
What receivers? I assume this is a flex position since you have a mix of receivers and running backs. You have Diggs here in the flex.
As a flex,
What other wide receivers are you starting besides Diggs?
And this is a 12-team league.
A 12-team
that's what I'm trying to wonder.
That's a nice 4 to be dealing with. I mean, Kansas City is playing Pittsburgh. And
Yeah.
Pittsburgh gave up like 200 yards rushing.
Terrible against the run.
Edwards-Helaire is a nice start there. Diggs is a nice start because you only have really Diggs and Sanders because of the COVID issues. And Justin Jackson is a great great start today. So I'm going to go with Mixon and Helaire here.
Yeah, so I agree with you, Brad, and let me explain to you why. Yes, there's not a lot of receivers left in Buffalo, but they are playing against New England, and Diggs might be matched up against Justin Jackson, who is a Pro Bowl cornerback. As much as I hate to admit it, he's incredible, and he's going to be matched up against him today. Justin Jackson is going to be in a timeshare with Kelly. It is not going to be 50-50. I assume Jackson, based on what Eckler's been putting on Instagram, that you're going to see a lot of Justin Jackson, but we just don't know how much and what that timeshare is going to look like. With Helaire and with Kelsey out, you're going to see more of Helaire in the red zone than what we've seen in the past. So,
adding to that, I mean, the push for Justin Jackson here is Mike Williams is also out,
right? And that's why I'm going to chime in. Again, I'm sorry, Cyclops. Finish what you're saying.
No, and so there is reason for all of these players to be in your lineup. You know,
the only thing is with a PPR though, I love CEH, and I agree without Kelsey, Hill is back, and Helaire now has his second or third game back from the injury, but he's not getting catches. I love the PPR, and I think Justin Jackson, even in a timeshare, he's the catching back. He's an early down back, and he's going to get a lot of the catches that Eckler got. I think I like Justin Jackson here. Just because we're looking at the fact that it's a PPR. I mean, for me personally, I agree. If it was any other team other than New England, I'd go Diggs. But that is a tough matchup. You're right, Commish. But for me, I think I'm going Mixon and Jackson here when you factor in the PPR.
Okay.
Helaire doesn't get the grabs.
So we really didn't do a great job for you, Javi. So at least you have our rationale here. I'm sure you're going through that same rationale. He's saying that he's scared of the Patriots. That's the reason why Diggs is there. Well, yes. We understand. We went through that, and you said you've got Tyreek and Madison as well. I don't know who your other receiver is besides Tyreek. Madison would be your running back, but I would assume definitely that you would have another option at wide receiver. Maybe you had Devontae Adams last night. I don't know. Loopy says, good morning, Josh. How are you doing?
Loops.
Hope everything's going okay.
Oh, yeah, Loopy's here.
Daniel, what up, boys? Bucks versus Panthers or Dolphins? CD, I assume you mean, I don't know if you're talking about.
I guess it's Dolphins against the rookie Saints, meaning Book.
No, but is he talking about Dolphins CD? Does he mean defense? What?
I assume it's defense. I assume it's Bucks versus Panthers or Dolphins versus the Saints defense.
Oh, and playing against Ian Book, the rookie. I see what he's saying.
Right.
I got to tell you something personally, because Ian Book is a very similar type quarterback to Taysom Hill. He's actually he's a rookie, but he's a strong running quarterback. And a running quarterback is going to make a lot less interceptions and look a lot less of a rookie than a pure pocket passer rookie quarterback. The Panthers, to me, are dreadful. You've got Cam Newton, who now they're saying is going to be splitting time. You might see more Sam Darnold, which might be worse against a very strong Bucs defense, granted, minus like all of their receivers. But to me personally, I would play the Bucs against the Panthers versus the Saints. I think Ian Book, believe it or not, is going to do moderately okay because they're going to short pass that game and they're going to run him like crazy. And it's not going to be a high-scoring game. I see a lot of propensity for turnovers with those Panthers against that strong front seven of the Bucs.
Well, despite 2020's faulty information, I actually come to the same conclusion as 2020. So I'm going to go with the Bucs. The Bucs. The reason why I think your analysis is faulty is I don't think Ian Book is going to be running today. I think you're just going to see a large dose of Kamara, and when you have a future Hall of Famer like Kamara on the other side, you never know what's going to happen. And he's really only been held in check, maybe one or two games this season. So the way I look at it is Book's going to be handing off or throwing little screens to Kamara all day.
Right. I hope so.
That's what we're going to see.
But he's not throwing downfield is what I'm saying. Yeah.
No, I don't, you're not going to see a lot of that. But even, all that being said, playing against a terrible team like the Panthers, the Bucks have an incredible defense. We saw they were actually one of the teams that shut down Kamara. So
Right.
yeah, as far as I'm concerned, you go with the Bucks defense here.
I'm going to agree. So we got the triple on that to go
Finally.
with that. Yeah, I know it doesn't happen often
ever.
But going to the Saints and the Dolphins, you have Peyton, who's a coach that if there's a coach that can do it to take a guy like that and put a game plan in for him, that's the guy, right? So that's what you worry about. So yeah, go with the Bucks against the Panthers.
And the Dolphins, there's one last thing. The Dolphins have actually fared very well against good running quarterbacks. They shut down Lamar Jackson. They shut down Cam Newton. So they've been really, really good against that type of quarterback, and that's what ebook is.
Okay.
All right, so we have another question here from did I have it here? Van Jefferson, DK Metcalf, or Parker. I don't know, guys. Where do you stand?
So I will tell you, I have Jefferson in a league and deciding whether to deciding whether to even start him or not. Now our question is Van Jefferson or Dallas Goedert, who's been a monster lately. Jefferson is going against the Minnesota defensive backfield. He has that ability for the big play. Metcalf has been awful this season, absolute bust, 100% bust this season. And Parker, against that Saints defense, which is very good, do you trust him?
And Waddle's back, which is a big deal. With Waddle being back,
it takes.
I would probably. I mean, Parker's still getting 5 or 6, 7 targets a game, even with Waddle there. But the Saints defense is tremendous. I agree, and I don't want to split hairs. Metcalf, fantasy-wise, has been horrific, but it's really Russell Wilson getting him the ball. Metcalf is still a talent, obviously. We know that. Believe it or not, amongst this trio, I would probably go Van Jefferson. He's the second guy in that offense, opposite Cooper Kupp, who is just redonkulous. I probably go Van Jefferson here. I believe this guy. He's become Stafford's second favorite target.
Yeah. So I think this might be a dollar-worthy question here because I think we're all coming up with different ideas. Yes, I agree, Brad. DK Metcalf has been a bust, but he has the potential. And with Lockett back, they're not going to be able to focus on covering Metcalf. My opinion is, and again, I'm going to write this down because I think this is dollar worthy. I'm sorry, Dana, that we have to go this way and have different opinions on your question. I'm going with DK Metcalf. He is a superstar, and he will be a superstar today.
I don't have a dollar handy. I just refinanced the house. This is a check I got back.
Don't gamble your paycheck, Keith.
No, you're getting $1 of this check that I just from the closing on the house I got back. So that's all I had in front of me. So yes, $1 of that in. Count it, book it, seal it.
So to summarize here, Keith, you're saying Jefferson.
VJ, yes.
And I'm saying Brad? Jefferson as well.
Okay.
Well, we've aligned. Nice Cyclops.
All right.
So do we. We each get $1.
The question is, in our league, is it Jefferson or Goddard?
Yeah, I know.
Goddard plays against the Giants.
I know.
Yeah, well, that being said, I'm actually, I'm looking for a flex in my league. I've got Chase Claypool, and I'm actually starting Goddard over Claypool in my flex today.
Wow.
Goddard has just been, especially with Jalen Hurts back. I just, I'm hoping. You just never know with Claypool. He's a scary player. Julian, Justin Jackson, Singletary, or Sony Michel. I can only have 2. What do you think? Just quickly, without going in, we already talked about some of these. It's got to be Justin Jackson and Singletary, in my opinion. Henderson is back today. I mean, they're going to be in a timeshare. What do you guys think?
I agree. It's going to be all Singletary. Moss is out of that equation. I like Justin Jackson this week, which makes me want to puke because you have him. And I agree. Sony Michel is going to be in a timeshare with Darrell Henderson. And by the way, Cam Akers is back?
Well, yeah,
really?
He's not playing, though.
No, I know he's not playing, but that's incredible that he might actually play in the playoffs this year. That's incredible. But yes, I agree.
He might even play next week.
He might play next week. Exactly. Yeah. Crazy talk.
Yeah, agreed here. As much as you don't want to start any Buffalo running back, Sony Michel is going to be most likely in that timeshare. So you got to go with Jackson and Singletary just for the the possible.
And he's got
with Singletary. Maybe if Singletary gets a touchdown, it's kind of a bonus.
Yeah.
Okay, so our resident Vampire League player,
Yeah.
Travis, good morning. I guess it's good morning. I was gonna say good afternoon, but it is good morning. He said Taylor let him down last night. I mean, it's funny when a running back gets you 12
goes
points,
for 100 yards.
It's still a letdown, but you're right. Everyone's expecting Taylor to at least grab you 20 points for the playoffs. Should he start Madison or Sanders? Off the top of my head, I'm going with Madison. What do you guys think?
The only thing is
Sanders has been nursing some injuries. I assume you're talking about Miles Sanders.
Sanders.
Emmanuel.
Yeah. It's got to be.
Look, he's had 2 good weeks, so everybody's jumping on the Sanders bandwagon. Yes, he's been in a timeshare with Howard, but he's gotten most of the carries. But he hasn't gotten any touchdowns. And he had 120 yards, and they had the bye week, then he had 130 yards. And in both of those games, even though he got more than 15 points in each, he didn't get a touchdown in either of those because they give the ball to Jordan Howard on the goal line. Quite frankly, that Minnesota offense, which revolved around Dalvin Cook, the 2 times that Cook was out, Madison went off.
He thrived. He thrived.
So, I think they're going to be close. Let's put it this way. I don't think one is going to be like so much better than the other, but if you have to pick one, I'm going with Madison.
I actually disagree. I think Madison would be lighting it up better, or much better. It's just I don't like the matchup against the Rams. So because of that, I'm going to agree that they are probably going to come in pretty close because of that matchup. Madison does incredible generally when he has the rock auto himself. Tough matchup, but go Madison. Agreed.
Yep.
Brady or Stafford?
Ooh.
This is you, Brad?
Oh, that's us. That's why you're out. Yeah. Here's what's interesting about that. Everyone, I think, is concerned, obviously, without his top 2 weapons, right? Without Godwin and Evans. No, just Godwin and Evans.
And
Brown is back.
Yes, that's correct. That's actually a good point. Fournette catches like 7 balls a game. That's a good point. And Rojo is really not a pass catching, but he gets Antonio Brown back, who we saw earlier in the year was his favorite target. So between that and Gronk, that's more than he had in New England. As far as the talent, in catching balls for him. So we have a tough decision to make between Stafford and Brady. And Tampa is playing. Who's Tampa playing again?
Carolina.
And the Rams are playing the Vikings.
I'll tell you what's interesting about the Antonio Brown thing, right? It just came out, I think, either last night or this morning. I was reading it where Brown has all these incentives that he can make. Oh. And Brady loves to get his guys these incentives.
He does.
And so he could just be peppering the Brown today with the football.
And Commish, you have Brown in the Dynasty League, don't you?
Yeah, I do. But no, actually I don't. But in this case, I have to go with Stafford, and the reason I have 2 words: Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
As long as Cooper Kupp is on your team, your quarterback is always going to get touchdowns for you, and that's where you're getting your points in fantasy football. It's going to be close again. I don't think this is like, oh my God, Stafford's going to be so much better than Brady today.
Yeah, agreed.
I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be within 3 to 5 points of each other. But if we're going to pick one over the other, I'm going with Stafford. I just feel like you can rely on him more. He's been playing with that lineup for a while. I got to go with Stafford.
And I think one other thing to support that is the Panthers are so bad, and they're going to have such a hard time putting up points. Are they going to have to throw that much? I believe this is a game that the Bucs can get out ahead early and just grind it down, even though that's not their game. They just go full pedal. But Vikings can score, and that can be a bit more of a shootout. The Bucs are going to have a very easy time. Exactly. So I think as well that we're going to go Stafford, right?
Yes.
As of now, we're going Stafford. Yes.
Okay, good.
So Daniel is answering Travis's question between Madison and Sanders, and Daniel is suggesting Madison. More Morning, guys. He had Huntley. I understand. I feel your pain. Should I use
Oh,
35-year-old Josh Johnson, Tua, or Roethlisberger? Josh Johnson.
This hits home for you, Commish.
Yeah.
What?
This hits home for you.
This does hit home for me. I could have picked up Josh Johnson. I picked up Roethlisberger instead, even if I could have picked up Tua, and I am a huge Tua fan, as you can tell. But they're playing against an incredible defense with the New Orleans Saints. I would be a little concerned about Tua. I think Tua is probably going to get around the 220-yard mark, maybe a touchdown. But Roethlisberger, if you're looking at playoffs, you're looking at a guy who's been there over and over and over again. He's got a high ceiling. He's got receivers who can score. In this case, I got to go with Roethlisberger. It's not the best option. You're not going to get a lot of points like you would have with Huntley. But if these are your options, I would have to go with Roethlisberger. And I actually have gone with Roethlisberger in this case.
The only thing is he's got that tough matchup. I know it sounds crazy, but Kansas City's defense has been playing fantastic. What's it, Tyrann Mathieu? Is that how you say his name? Is incredible in the secondary. KC's defense has been really what's been helping them win games lately. But between these three, you're definitely sitting Tua. You're not playing him at New Orleans. Johnson, the last time he was out, I thought he had a good game. If I remember, he couldn't throw the rock.
When he played for the Jets as a backup when Mike White wasn't performing. They took Mike White out and they put in. But you have to understand, first of all, he was picked up on December 15th or 16th, so he hasn't been in that system for a long time. Second of all, he is 35 years old. He has been. He's played on, just like with Fitzy, he's played on so many different teams, but he's never really made the cut. And as far as I'm concerned, for that offense, which isn't a high-powered offense to start out with, they don't have the running backs. The only thing they really have is Mark Andrews. And yes, you're going to tell me Hollywood Brown, but I think Lamar made Hollywood Brown. So as far as I'm concerned, I just couldn't rely on Josh Johnson. Yes, can he have a 300-yard game like he did for the Jets? Possibly. But this is a different situation. I don't think this is the same thing.
He's going against a Josh Johnson.
The
They're
Bengals.
playing against the Bengals, right?
The Bengals.
They're both fighting for a playoff spot. Bengals defense hasn't played bad. So, I would agree here. Go with Roethlisberger.
Go Big Ben.
To just get that hopeful steadiness. You get your 15, 18 points and hope that you could pick it up somewhere else because of these injuries. So question, I have a quick question. I have Tua in a league. I also have Cousins in a league, in that same league. What do you do there?
Oh, I would go Cousins all day.
Cousins.
Not that I don't.
I have him as number 13 today.
13,
I have Tua at 16. So not that much difference, but given, I still would have to go with
the
Cousins.
Saints D.
Saints defense is just
Jefferson.
tough. Yeah.
So
exactly.
And Daniel's asking about Swift, which is you're welcome. So this is the perfect example, or the perfect time, I should say, to go into our list, because DeAndre Swift is actually on that list. And we're going to talk about our inactives. But before we do, and before we go into that inactive list, I want to talk about some of the game time decisions. These are ones that, unfortunately, guys, you're going to have to wait. And this is for the early game. So probably in about 10 minutes, we're going to know if these guys are going to be playing. And they include DeAndre Swift, Damian Harris, and DJ Moore. Tonight, we don't know about Antonio Gibson. And we're not going to find that out until after, or I'd say the fourth quarter of the 4 o'clock games, or the late games. So all we can do is tell you right now that DeAndre Swift, Damian Harris, DJ Moore, we're going to have to sit and wait. Give me at least another 10 minutes, and at that point, we'll probably be in a better position to answer your question on that.
They all should be coming out soon,
Right, so why don't we start on our inactive list? We'll start with you, Brad. Who is not going to be playing today?
Well, all right, so strap in here. Okay, here we go. So Jared Goff, is out, right, which feeds into all those other players that you possibly have on your roster. You picked up Saint, whatever his name is. Yeah, go play. Anyway, he's out. Kelsey did not pass protocol. He is out today. Lamar Jackson, as you know, Commish, is out. Didn't even make the trip. Right on the heels of that, Tyler Huntley out with COVID from yesterday. Dalvin Cook out. So all you Madison fans and people that picked up Madison, good luck to you today. Gabriel Davis was going to step into that nice role. He's been doing amazing. He is out, along with Cole Beasley, who is out. So Buffalo people, you have your two people there at wide receiver. Diggs and Sanders, that's right.
Yep.
Ramondre Stevenson, COVID-19 out. And Aguilar, concussion, out. Laviska Shenault went on the COVID list Friday. He is out. There is
Keith, who do
a
you
lot
got?
of people.
God, I feel like that scene in Ace Ventura. All right, so we got really bad news for the Giants. Daniel Jones and Sterling Shepard aren't just out, but they're on IR and are done for the year. Very sadly, running back Leonard Fournette has pulled his hamstring, and he's on the IR, but could return for the playoffs.
Not
Mike
fantasy
Evans
playoffs. NFL
for
playoffs.
the NFL playoffs. Exactly correct. Thank you. Mike Evans, also dealing with a hamstring injury, is out. Running back Austin Eckler, illness, again, tested positive for COVID-19, so he did not clear protocols and will not play. Also on the Chargers, Mike Williams continues to test positive for COVID-19, will not play. And staying with wide receivers, Brandon Cooks, once again, will not be activated off the COVID list because he is still positive. That rounds out my who is not playing.
And there's a few others we've got with the Bears. Allen Robinson, who you probably don't have on your roster or starting anyway, but he was not activated off the COVID list, as well as Jakeem Grant. Tight end Pat Freiermuth, concussion, he is out. Teddy Bridgewater, concussion. We all saw what happened last week, and it didn't look pretty. He is going to be out. Look for Drew Lock to be starting today for the Broncos. Tight end Darren Waller, he is doubtful. He is not listed as out yet. If he does come across the board as being inactive, we'll let you know. But at this point, prepare for not having Darren Waller today. Like we were talking about, Taysom Hill and Trevor Siemian, both quarterbacks for the New Orleans Saints, have COVID. They are out for tomorrow night's game. Like we said, Ian Book will be starting, despite the fact that the Saints actually reached out to both Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers to see whether or not they would play tomorrow night against the Dolphins. Both turned them down. So it looks like the Ian Book show for the New Orleans Saints.
How cool would that have been? I mean, not for the Dolphins, but just in general. Like those guys just coming back to play.
Okay, wait. We got a question here. Mike had asked, looks like I skipped over it. Who do I start? Christian Kirk, Amari Cooper, or DK Metcalf? Christian Kirk, we already know, played last night, so no, you're not starting him. So between Amari Cooper or DK Metcalf, you also have T. Higgins, if I remember correctly. So if you throw all three of those, you got T. Higgins, Amari Cooper, DK Metcalf. You need to start two out of those three. What do you guys think?
Oh, this is easy. This is Amari Cooper, and I mean, maybe it's not easy. Christian Kirk probably would have been the play just because of the injuries there. So I don't know if they were started or not, but if it was pre-last night, I would have gone with Kirk and Cooper.
Kirk and Cooper as well, yeah. Metcalf, unfortunately, has been a ghost. And Kirk has been stepping in admirably with Hopkins down.
Yeah, I get it. I understand. Look, Christian Kirk only got 8 points. Hopefully the other two will do better for you. T. Higgins has been doing well lately.
Yeah.
Actually, Tyler Boyd's been coming
on. Boyd's been doing well lately, yeah.
He's been doing well. So, but still, I think T. Higgins, you got to ride the hot hand. Now, PFF is saying go with DK Metcalf. However, a story came out this morning how Dak Prescott has actually been spending extra time individually with Amari Cooper and his other receivers, working on timing, on communication, and it looks like that offense is ready to break out again. So despite the fact that they do have CD Lamb and other options, I would have to go with Amari Cooper, and just because we don't know what's going to happen with DK.
I just want to throw these numbers out there because this is just insane to me. 11.2 points, 8.3 points, 11, 2.3, 7.1, 5.6. Those are the last 6 weeks for DK Metcalf. This is a guy that is a perennial top 10 receiver that should have a floor of 12 to 14 points a week. He hasn't broken 11 in 5 weeks, and a lot of them have been 5, 2, and 7. So it's just, again, he's the kind of guy that on one play can get you 14 points. We know that.
Right.
It's just insane with what's going on in Seattle.
Yeah, and when we were talking before about Van Jefferson versus DK Metcalf, that's a whole other discussion. That's when I came in and I said, okay, DK Metcalf will do better than Van Jefferson. However, this is different here. And by the way, I know, Mike, you also have Hollywood Brown. I don't think he's even in the question or the discussion right now because without having a real quarterback, I wouldn't play Hollywood Brown right now. So
let's hope Josh Johnson doesn't listen to our podcast, by the way.
So it sounds like T. Higgins and Amari Cooper is our consensus here, guys. So hopefully, good luck. Hopefully that'll work out for you. Okay, some of the inactives are now hitting. DeAndre Swift is inactive today. So for a timeshare between Jamal Williams and Reynolds. In Detroit. Let me see if we have anything else. Matt Breida is inactive, which means
that helps Singletary.
Damian Harris, Kendrick Bourne, and N'Keal Harry are all active for the Patriots, so they will be playing.
So Bourne must have passed protocol.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Let me see. Nothing else right this second. I'm sure there's going to be more as we're talking. More are going to keep coming across the wire, and we'll go through those. See here. Okay, now, go ahead.
This just in from a Twitter user asking in a dynasty league in an emergency flex position because half their team is out, would you go with Latavius Murray, Jamal Williams, or Tevin Coleman in a flex?
One more time.
Latavius Murray, Jamal Williams, or Tevin Coleman.
Oh, Jamal Williams. I mean, especially with Swift out.
With Swift out, right?
Yeah.
Murray's been getting a lot of but I think I agree with you there. Okay, good. Let's hope that works. I'll tell the Twitter user you guys said that.
Okay, so I know, Keith, you were putting together something to discuss.
Yeah, I mean, it's with what we just discussed. It's literally an insanity with the amount of players that have gotten you this far into the playoffs that we're now struggling to try to find players to fill those roles. So I put together a fun little list here of, not everything has to be catchy and kitschy, but it's like a trust or bust. Do we trust these guys going into, the most important games of the season to replace people that we have to replace? The Antonio Gibsons, possibly, all the different people that we have to deal with. So the first one that we're going to throw out there is the Duke Johnson. Had a monstrous epiphany of a game against the Jets. So let's put that a little into perspective. Gaskin is healthy. So the question is, do we trust Duke Johnson in a second game out against a very tough New Orleans defense heading into the playoffs? So where do you guys sit in that? Would you play this guy?
No. I mean, I think he would do well if he would get 20 carries a game,
right,
like we saw last week, whether it was against the Jets or anybody else. But I think the timeshare with Gaskin, Philip Lindsay is also back now with the Dolphins, and they're going to be going up against the number 2 ranked defense against the run in the NFL. I think we're going to see a lot of Waddle today. We're going to see a lot of short passes, a lot of screens, a lot of these kind of passes that act almost like a run, right? They're going to get you 3 or 4 yards every time. So can you trust Duke Johnson for this week? No, but for next week, possibly. Let's see what happens. Plus, you just never know what's going to happen to a player. So, if you have room on your roster, I would grab Duke Johnson if you think you might need him next week. But for this week, I'm not a huge fan.
Well, as far as Duke Johnson goes, last week he was the runner. I mean, he caught 1 or 2 passes last week, if I'm correct.
One for 20.
One, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you see him, because really his history has been a pass catching back. So maybe they transfer him into that for this week to offset that, that good defense. You don't know. Can you trust him? If you have other options this week, go with that. 2020 and I are in a position where if Gibson is inactive tonight, Duke Johnson is our backup tomorrow.
That's
night.
right.
So we may have to use him depending on what happens.
Here's what's amazing.
We have two more inactives, our actives to tell you about. First of all, David Johnson, not that you would start him as the running back for the Texans, but he is out. Adam Thielen, who was questionable, we weren't sure what was going to happen with him. He is actually active today.
Yep.
So
he is active.
For Adam Thielen to be back in that lineup. So
and I think that helps Justin Jefferson owners, actually, believe it or not.
Yeah, it could. But what does help are the Kirk Cousins.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. So a couple, and I agree with you guys, by the way, going against the number 2 rush defense in the league. I was at that game, by the way, and was blown away how many broken tackles Duke Johnson made. And he got to the second level a lot more than Gaskin has this year. He looked really good in a featured running back role. I do not like him this week against the tough New Orleans.
He's certainly fresh. He hasn't played in a while.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so here's another one. And this, by the way, has zero to do with his talent, and he has clearly broken out, and that's Amon-Ra St. Brown, who has been, a revelation the last 3 weeks, putting up 2 or 3 weeks monster numbers, 12, and 11 targets, a touchdown 2 of the 3 weeks, has looked scintillating, and I'm out of the playoffs because of him on Jeff's team, did phenomenal. But Jared Goff, who awoke from his slumber and flashed some of the goodness that made him a high pick and why Detroit traded for him, is now not playing. So the question is, you're riding a hot St. Brown. Do you continue riding him with Tim Boyle under center? Do you trust him for the playoffs?
It depends who else you have. So obviously, if you're in a pinch and you need St. Brown, then fine. I get it. He's a good receiver. He's been targeted a lot. He seems to have the chemistry with Jared Goff. Does he have chemistry with Tim Boyle? Does anybody have chemistry with Tim Boyle? Who is Tim Boyle? So without really knowing, especially with DeAndre Swift out, I don't know what's going to happen with that offense. I think there's too much of a question mark for your fantasy playoffs to rely on somebody like that. For right now, again, it depends on who else you have. If you're talking about Van Jefferson, for example, versus Amon-Ra St. Brown, I might go with St. Brown. But if you're talking about, it depends on your matchup.
So all of this, by the way, all of these are always going to depend on the other players you have. So let's remove that from the equation, and let's just talk about what is the high. Do they have a high enough floor to start? Because it's always going to depend on roster. So let's go at that angle. Is there enough of a floor to start these guys in your fantasy playoffs? Go ahead, Cyclops.
No, what I was saying, I actually do have that scenario. I picked up St. Brown in a league before Goff was ruled out, going, okay, I got a nice pickup. But then with Goff out, I actually have Michael Carter on my bench, who is back from injury. They're playing Jacksonville today. So now I moved Michael Carter into that spot instead of.
So you are going to sit Brown. And that's a really good example because Carter, who split time with Coleman, didn't do great last week, and you're going to play Carter over St. Brown.
Well, it was a tough defense, clearly, and it was his first week back, and they have Jacksonville this week. So
yeah. Okay. Another one.
Hold on.
Good. I'm sorry.
Commish, if you want to get back to, we do have a bunch of questions. Yeah.
No, let's do the questions.
So Daniel says, "Do I play Freeman as opposed to who?"
Devonta Freeman? It's got to be right.
It said he lost Swift and Eckler down a little bit. It says he lost, and he also, would you play Howard? So he's got a few questions in here.
Wow.
So Freeman or Howard, I think, is basically because he lost Swift and Eckler.
My condolences.
Yeah, really. Freeman's lost a lot of carries to Latavius Murray as of late. That's my only concern there, where Howard is in a true 50-50 split. It looks like he's getting a lot of the balls. I'm just looking at numbers here.
It's not really a 50-50 at all. That the timeshare is not there for Howard.
Yeah, it is. He had 15 carries. It is a 50-50 split. They both had the same amount of carries last week. I'm not talking about production. I'm talking about reps. Jordan Howard had 15 carries last week. Yeah.
I think with that matchup going against the Giants, I think you start Howard here. Sanders is nursing an injury. They've come out and said that. So they may want to not use him as much. So that I think Howard's going to get more of an opportunity here against a really bad Giants team. So I think between these two, you go with Howard.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of carries. He's getting a lot of touches because they have become. It was like about 4 or 5 weeks ago. Philadelphia completely switched to a run heavy offense. I would probably go Howard as well. Freeman, I think, had like 7 or 8 carries last week.
Yeah, you're going to hate me on this, Daniel, but I have to go with Freeman, mainly because of that offense and the way. I mean,
look, Johnson. I feel like we're crapping on Josh Johnson today, but I just don't think.
I think they're going to have to rely on their running backs today. But either one is not an enviable position to be in. So that's why I'm not going to force it down your throat. But I just feel Freeman will have a better day. Just not as confident on either of those guys.
Josh Johnson's one of these guys. It's like you feel. Didn't he come in one time against the Dolphins and just have an insane game?
Yeah,
I
he
kind of
did.
remember that. It's like he's going to come in and either have like 120 yards and 3 interceptions, or like 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's a middle ground there.
Yeah. I just like the fact that Philadelphia has completely committed to a run-heavy game against the Giants with a struggling Barkley, no Daniel Jones, half the receivers gone. That's going to be a grind-out game that I see Philly just running the rock 30, 40 times for the game.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kenneth has a question. Wants to know, should I be concerned on Thielen versus the Rams? No. If you have Thielen,
start him.
If you have Thielen, go ahead and start Thielen. Let me see what else we have here.
I got down here Steve Johnson.
Who?
Steve Johnson's asking.
Oops, sorry.
All right. I'm
Go
putting
ahead,
it up.
Brad. You put it on.
All right. Sorry. Pick 2. We have
Scary Terry.
Terry, Higgins, or Renfro. Well, Renfro's a definite here, right?
Definite.
He's getting like 15 targets a game.
I think. I got to go with T. Higgins and Renfro in this case. Like Terry McLaurin, it's so hard to sit somebody who is really their main target. However, they are playing against Dallas. I don't know if they're going to be playing a zone or if he's going to be matched up against Tavon Diggs. But in this case, I think if you're talking PPR, you're going to talk about production, how many targets. You got to look at Higgins and Renfro today.
McLaurin's last game against Dallas, 3 targets, 0 catches, 0 yards. In the last 3 weeks, right, that's 2 weeks ago. In the last 3 weeks, McLaurin has had 5 targets, 3 targets, and 4 targets for a total of 5 catches in 3 weeks. So I happen to agree with you. I would definitely go with Higgins and Renfro.
Commish, earlier you were kind of touting DK Metcalf a little bit, right? Because he's that guy. Isn't McLaurin in that same discussion?
Yeah, but we're also talking. But I'm bringing it up by matchup, and that's why I said, because as far as I'm concerned, even with Chase and even with Boyd, Higgins has been the guy with the targets. So do we want to say that you got to go with the person who's the guy? We're talking about PPR. So targets, receptions is everything here.
And I'm agreeing. With those two.
So, but you're looking at the matchup. I think if Washington was playing somebody else, I might have a different answer.
Okay, fair enough.
But I think the matchup is much better for the other two. Frank Garcia, Jacobs, Barkley, Jackson, or Jones.
Take Barkley out of that.
PPR or half PPR, because I think it might make a little bit of a difference here. It would be hard not to start Rojo today, right?
Yeah, Rojo's a definite.
I don't think this is even a question. You go with the 2 backups here, Jackson and Jones. I mean, Jacobs just doesn't seem to really have this ceiling. Like he has a ceiling, is what I'm saying. Jacobs just isn't having these breakout games. But I think Jackson and or Jones both could have that today. So it's kind of crazy looking at that list of 4, but those are the guys that I would go with today.
Rojo's definite. I'm torn between Jacobs and Jackson. Jacobs hasn't been doing terrible. 3 of his last 4 weeks, 19.2, 24, 12. He's getting the carries. It's against Denver.
Drake.
Right.
I have to go with I have to go with Jacobs and Rojo.
Yeah. Just because Josh Kelly, this is the problem with the Chargers.
Yep.
And I remember this last year when Eckler was down for almost the entire year. 1 week it was Kelly, next week it was Jackson. Then Balaj comes out of the blue nowhere to steal the backfield.
All right, write it down.
Rojo and Jacobs.
Oh, is this dollar worthy? Really?
Oh, it's already up. Yeah, Jacobs or Jackson, really.
Can you please fraction $1 more out of this check, please? This will be $2 from the check.
Oh, so Travis just came in with a. So I'm going to put it up here. I know we'll get back to that other Facebook user question. DJ Moore was just announced active, which is interesting because I actually have him. Oh, were you gonna say that?
No. I love when our listeners bring us breaking news. I love that.
So, by the way, this is so cool. Travis is on here. It means he made the playoffs in his Vampire League. That's awesome.
Yeah, he said that. So I actually have a decision with DJ Moore today. He is also part of what I was actually asking earlier. So I'll have to take a look at that. DJ Moore, of course, that's against Tampa. So that's
with rotating quarterbacks. That's rotating bad quarterbacks on top of it. Let me add.
Yeah, it all depends. Again, with DJ Moore, it depends on because of the matchup, because of the quarterback. It depends who your other options are. So how is DJ Moore going to do? Probably get you about 8 points. Yeah. I don't see it being more than that.
So I have St. Brown, and I also have that's where I put Michael Carter in against Jacksonville.
I'd probably stay with Carter in that situation.
Commish is in deep thought.
It's hard for me to start a Jet, but I guess you would have to go with Carter in this sense.
Okay.
More questions.
So we'll get back to Facebook user. I assume this is Mike. Last question. Damian Harris is active today. Melvin Gordon. So Harris, Melvin Gordon, or Sanders.
I'm all about Harris with Ramondre, with Stevenson down. It is Harris's backfield. You've got Bolden and JJ. Yeah. Right, and Bolden down? He was okay. Either way,
Bolden's playing.
He's there, but this is
him a lot today.
But this is, Mac Jones has now become such a good quarterback because he hands the ball off 35 times a game. That's exactly how New England is going to try to beat Buffalo. So I see Damian Harris getting a volume, like serious volume, where you got Gordon splitting.
They threw it 3 times last time. Now the weather was obviously an issue. They may run it 3 times today. You don't know what Belichick's going to do.
That is if you they only threw 3 times because of the weather. But if you look at what they've done, the majority of the season, they have stuffed Damian Harris and Stevenson down people's throats because they have a defense that allows them to do that. And but against Buffalo, the way you beat Buffalo, but they've got Harris, and Harris, as long as Harris stays healthy, they're going to run because the way you beat Buffalo is you keep Josh Allen off the field. You do that by running the ball.
So pick 2. You got Harris and who?
Oh, it's pick 2?
I'm going with Harris and Sanders. Even though 2020 said that they're in that because now he's in a timeshare as well, just like Melvin Gordon. The difference being that you can't compare Jordan Howard to Javonte Williams. So I think as time goes on, they're just going to continue to rely more and more on Javonte Williams. So in that case, I go with Harris and Sanders.
Okay. So here we have, we already did that. Schultz or Guseki. This is coming from Travis.
Oh, Schultz all day.
Yeah, I think they're going to get exactly the same. I think you might have a 1 point difference between the two.
Schultz had a really nice week last week.
Yeah, but here's the difference. We talked about earlier with the fact when we were talking about Duke Johnson and how Miami's offense is going to approach this game tomorrow night, where you're going to see a lot of these short passes. I think, especially if it's a PPR, you're going to see a lot of Mike Guseki. I think you're still going to see a lot of Guseki. Demarius Davis is out for New Orleans, so you don't have that linebacker matchup on Guseki. I don't know. I think they're going to have to rely on him this week, and I would go with Guseki over Schultz.
You're going to take Guseki over Schultz. Interesting.
Yeah.
It is a tough call. Guseki is getting the looks, but he hasn't done much. He hasn't had a touchdown in I don't know how many weeks. Schultz just came off a really big game and you're going to see a shootout. I think New Orleans Miami is going to be a very low scoring game, and I think Dallas and Minnesota has a propensity to be explosive.
Dallas and Minnesota. It's
Yeah,
Dallas
look, I don't feel so strongly.
And Washington, excuse me. Yeah, I agree with you. It's going to be close, but I like Schultz edging out Guseki personally.
All right. Oops.
Oh, sorry, I did that. My bad.
Cousins or Heineke. We talked about the fact that Thielen is now in. You got to go with Cousins. I think even if Thielen was out, you go with Cousins here. But yeah, I think we all agree we're going with Cousins over Heineke. We have good morning, guys. I need 1 running back and 3 flexes. That's an interesting
3 flexes
roster.
Huh.
He's got Javonte, Gordon, Barkley, Mixon, Michelle Renfro, Justin Jackson. Let's go with the obvious ones, guys.
Mixon.
Right? Let's go with Mixon and Renfro here.
Right.
Yep.
Right. I don't know if this is PPR or half PPR.
So you have Javonte and Gordon
and Melvin Gordon.
Interesting.
So, I can, and we can rule some out. I don't think Sony Michel should be in this mix. So really, it's gonna, and even Barkley. Who knows what's going to happen with Barkley? So I think it really comes down to Javonte, Gordon, or Jackson.
Right.
We know we're going with Mixon. You're probably going with Renfro. That leaves 2 out of Javonte, Gordon, or Justin Jackson.
So we need 2 more now.
I'm going with Justin Jackson. And man, Gordon and Javonte is so tough because one of those guys is going to get a touchdown. Javonte gets more catches generally out of the backfield, but they generally split carries. So it's like whoever's the hot hand, whoever they give the ball to at the goal line. It's just, man, I don't know. I just don't know. Jackson, I'd probably go with, I think Javante's got the bigger upside. So I'd probably go with him.
I'm the same way. In this, everything laid out here, I'm Mixon, Renfro, Jackson, and Javonte.
Okay, so Mike was just letting us know that he was asking us the questions from the pool of the Emerald Princess stocked in Dominica. That's great. That's nice. In fact, next year I'd love to start finding out where some of our listeners are listening to the show, and get some pictures.
I think we had this one up already, guys.
From where they are, yeah, that would be great.
This one we just did.
So we've got a lot going on, guys. I mean, this is a whirlwind, and I think what's pretty incredible are the amount of our listeners from week 1 or even through the summer when we started the podcast for this year are still with us now and still asking these questions, meaning you made the playoffs. So this is pretty incredible. We've gone over our active, our inactives. Oh, we do have, before we finalize it up here, Justin Jackson or DJ Moore, full PPR.
Full PPR. Oh, God.
Being that it's full PPR, that kind of throws a little bit of a wrench into it, guys.
Yeah.
It's Carolina playing Tampa, right?
Yes.
I think Tampa is going to shred them, and they're, even with Darnold and Newton, I just think they're going to have to throw in a full PPR.
I think you're looking at a shutout possibility, though. That's my concern.
Yeah, it's true.
Look, DJ Moore is getting targets, right? He's got 3 in a row of double-digit targets. So we know that they're throwing to him. We know that they have to throw to him. The question is, are those targets translating into catches and touchdowns? He only has 4 touchdowns all season, 1 touchdown since week 5. So I think it could be a shutout here, but I could also see DJ Moore getting a bunch of targets, just not translating into a lot of points. That's my concern.
Where Justin Jackson is the safer bet. He's got an elite quarterback. They're a balanced team. He'll get catches and runs. I see what you're saying. It's the fun. You just never know. With Sam Darnold, he could revert back and make DJ Moore a stud again. But the safest bet is probably JJ here.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, this one is honestly like flip a coin. Yeah. It's really flip a coin. I probably, a lot of times I'll tend to push more to go in a situation like this to the running back because they're going to get more touches. And that's where I lean to with this one.
So we had a few others that to consider with the trust or bust segment. And a few of these I'm going to blow right through because we've talked about it enough, but we already know the answer.
Hold on, I know we have a question. We do have one more question here. They feel that there's going to be a shootout with Dallas and Washington as well. Cousins has the more solid floor. He has one flex spot. Lost Eckler, so Justin Jackson or T. Higgins. Again, I don't know if it's PPR or half PPR. What do you do in this case?
I would go Justin Jackson because, believe it or not, Tyler Boyd is getting targeted more than T. Higgins. T. Higgins been decent, but there's a lot of mouths to feed there. I probably still go with Justin Jackson over T. Higgins.
If this is PPR, I go with Higgins. If it's half PPR or less, I go with Justin Jackson.
That was essentially my same thought process there. They're going against Baltimore, right? Cincinnati. Yep. I think Baltimore is going to be able to score a little bit somehow. So I think they're going to be throwing the ball. So yeah, I'm going to go with Higgins here.
All right. So a couple more of these trust factors. Justin Jackson, we know we're trusting him. He's got a nice floor there. We're also trusting Alexander Madison. We know that. And we're going to trust Ronald Jones. But here's some question marks. Do we trust Chuba Hubbard? I mean, the guy's getting the volume, but he's not doing anything with it. He also doesn't get any catches. I mean, last week, granted against Buffalo, he went 8 for 40 Atlanta. He's actually not getting the volume because they're not doing anything with the ball. I mean, and you have Amir Abdullah there as well. So you lost McCaffrey. You thought Hubbard was going to step in like Davis did last year. It's not even close. But in a pinch, are you playing Hubbard this week in your playoffs?
No.
In a pinch, yeah. I mean,
in a pinch, yeah, but otherwise, no.
Correct.
Okay. All right, another one. I know you guys are going to laugh, but what about Rashad Penny, who had a great week 14. Week 15 started looking good, but then got hurt and was taken out. Well, that's the problem with Penny. DJ Dallas came in and took his rushing yards and touchdowns, but they were clearly going to feature him, and now he's back and fine. And they still said they still would possibly want to feature him against, surprisingly, a pretty run-porous Chicago defense. So, again, if you're in a pinch, are you trusting Rashad Penny?
Only if you're in a pinch, otherwise, no.
Okay.
And
so the only other one,
go ahead.
Last one, there are some big name tight ends, two of the top 3 tight ends that are down this week, Darren Waller and Travis Kelce. And there is not a lot out there on the waiver wire for good starting tight ends in the playoffs. What about Foster Moreau, who, obviously stepping in and filling Darren Waller's shoes with the likes of the James O'Shaughnessy's and Tyler Conklins and CJ Azuma? Do you trust Moreau? And let me put this out there, interestingly enough. The last 2 weeks, he's had 15 targets, 9 targets last week against Chicago, and they're playing in a tough division matchup against Denver. Is Carr looking at Waller now? Does he love that tight end position as that safety valve? 9 targets last week. Do you trust him filling in for one of these fallen tight ends?
To fill in for one of the fallen tight ends, these are tough questions because it really comes down to matchups, and it comes down to who else is available for you. Will I trust Moreau in general? No. I mean, I like Conklin better than him. I like Cole Kmet. I like Jared Cook. I mean, there's guys that I would grab if they're available over Foster Moreau, despite the fact when you said 15 targets, that's a sum of not 15 each week. It's a total of 15.
Yeah, 9 and 6 over 2 weeks.
Right. So, no, I mean, if you're talking about a 10-team league, there are 10 tight ends that are better than Foster Moreau. I don't. Conklin,
by the way, and you would think, and this is what's so interesting, you would think a Tyler Conklin, who, by the way, in the last 3 weeks, or last week had 3 targets, a week before that, 2 targets. Conklin's doing absolutely nothing.
He's kind of disappeared.
He's absolutely nothing whatsoever in fantasy, not rosterable. So that's the question. You have Moreau, who, again, you were looking at the trends, 6 targets, 9 targets, Waller out. Carr loves the tight end.
Look, when you get to this position and you're starting to look at these guys, again, it's a coin flip, right? Who has the most targets? Who's the hot hand there? Moreau is getting the targets. That could translate into being some production. Uzmaha, I don't know if I said his name right.
Uzama.
Uzama. He's had a couple nice games. if he gets a touchdown, he's going to get a touchdown in 40 yards is like his game, right? So you're going to get some points. So maybe it's a coin flip with all of these guys at this point.
But again, if you're having, and again, the whole point of this segment was if you have Kelsey or Waller, guys that have been a big part of your team and probably helped get you into the playoffs.
Waller's been out for a few weeks now.
Waller's been out for a few weeks, but still, that was a big. That's exactly, and that's a big part of your team.
Time talking about tight ends.
Yeah.
Well,
there's another question.
Speaking of tight end, Lauren says that you guys are awesome.
You're awesome. By the way, that is the hottest listener we have right there.
Thank you. We appreciate that. They got a good one for us. Lions D versus Atlanta D. Jets D versus Jacksonville. What do you mean a good one? The only good thing about this is that you're just asking us to scrape the bottom of the barrel and see what comes up.
Hey, the Lions just shut down Kyler Murray, man. What do you mean just stop? They did.
Everybody can shut down Kyler Murray. He's completely
what did Kyler Murray
overrated
do last night?
Kyler Murray went for 22 fantasy points last night, actually.
Yeah, but he was essentially shut down.
No, I'm not. Cordell Patterson is going to go off today. I do not recommend the Lions. Out of these terrible defenses, I got to go with the
Jets.
Probably the Jets against Jacksonville.
Because Trevor Lawrence will throw another 4 interceptions, probably. Yeah. Lawrence is just throwing picks like crazy. Yeah.
I'm going without Goff here. I'm going with the Atlanta D.
He said it's a good one because it gives us something to talk about. So yes, that's
agreed.
True. We appreciate that. You're going with Atlanta D.
I'm not going to bet $1 because I bet a penny.
No,
because it's defenses anyway. That's why.
Right. All right. Well, listen, I'm going to end this by showing you guys a picture that I can no longer get out of my head. Somebody had said that the Browns logo looks like a bunny rabbit pushing a shopping cart. I can no longer
100%. Oh my God!
As anything but a bunny pushing a shopping cart. So next time you see,
I saw someone else say it was like a bunny rabbit pushing with a walker.
Yeah. So I just want.
Sadly enough, it also looks like a bunny rabbit humping a helmet.
Okay.
The depths of my mind. I'm just saying. I'm letting you know where it goes sometimes. Just being open on the air.
Listen, happy Kwanzaa, everybody. Merry Christmas yesterday. Happy New Year coming up. We are going to, I assume we're doing the show Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions, go ahead. You can ask the questions in the YouTube live comments or Facebook live comments. We had a really full day today. We really appreciate all of our listeners each week, whether it is Javi, whether it's Rogelio,
Travis,
Steve, Daniel, guys, Kenneth. We really appreciate it. So
thank you again. Guys, any final words?
Hey, good luck. Good luck this week. If you made it this far, that means you've been doing a good job. We certainly hope we were a part of that. And we hope to see you next week when you're playing for your Super Bowl, your championship.
Yep. So I want to say all three of us are in different league games today. So all of us have made playoffs. I'm going to have a busy day. Yes, I'm going to say it in 5 of my 6 leagues. I did that on purpose.
Starting to sound like Craig. I'm just saying.
So I'm playing against Cyclops in one league. I'm playing against 2020 in another league. You got to love it. We're going to come back Tuesday crying, and we'll let you know what happens.
Yes.
1 or 2 of us or 3 of us somehow will all be crying.
I'll be sobbing. That is correct.
Tuesday, but it also enjoy your day.
It also means that 1 of us or 2 of us will make the fantasy championship.
That is true.
That's correct.
That's true.
Yeah, we'll see who it is.
It could be one. It could be you, Commish, have the ability to do it in both leagues. You're the only one.
That's true. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
No, actually, I do too because I'm in that one as well.
Thank you. All right.
Dynasty. Exactly.
Take care.
See ya.
All right, guys. Happy